Wesley Fofana is due to undertake his medical today ahead of completing his record move to Chelsea Football Club. The deal for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is still on and Chelsea lead the race, but Manchester United are still involved, are still making inquiries and want to hijack should a problem arise. He was reported by Gerard Romero to be at the airport and on his way to London to complete his move to Chelsea. That has since stalled. We're going to delve into both those Chelsea stories for you today. Plus, look at the conversation about Ronaldo joining Napoli and what the agent Jorge Mendes is trying to do in relation to Victor Osimhen potentially joining Manchester United in a big money move. Also on today's AM show of the Done Deal show, we are talking about Frenkie de Jong to Liverpool Football Club. Is this on? Is this really happening? Or is this a little bit of a pipe dream? Make sure you're smashing the like buttons, subscribing to the Football Terrace. It's the Done Deal Show. Let's go. One of the breaking pieces of news over the past 12 hours, of course, when there's games on, things lose a little bit of traction. But is that Jorge Mendes has reportedly insured Napoli of an incoming offer from Manchester United for Victor Osimhen. He believes the Glazers are willing to make sure they pay a major part of Ronaldo's wages in a potential move to Napoli. This has come from a number of reports out of Italy in the last couple of days, including the likes of Damasio, who have stated that Jorge Mendes is doing everything he can to get a Champions League club for Ronaldo. He's currently in talks with Napoli to facilitate the arrival. Mendes wants to bring another club to the table for Victor Osimhen. So there are the base of the story has come from Damasio. You now have other major Italian outlets that are claiming that this is true, that Man United could be looking to make a move for Osimhen in a sort of swap deal, as it were, for Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, personally, I don't quite understand this deal. And what I mean by I don't quite understand it is from a Napoli point of view. Of course, Cristiano Ronaldo is serious. Of course, Cristiano Ronaldo is he brings a stardom and fame to Napoli. He would probably be Napoli's most famous player since Diego Maradona. And I understand the law of that, the allure of that, the attraction, the want, and the reasons to why a club might do it. But in actuality, I don't understand the logic behind it. Ronaldo has a year or two left. Osimhen is still a relatively, well, compared to Cristiano Ronaldo, he's still a baby. I still don't think he's reached his full potential. You know, he's only what, 23 years of age. It strikes me as a strange deal. Now, from a Man United fan's point of view, is Osimhen the greatest attacker in the world? No. Depending on the transfer fee and the wages, you'd have to look at it and say, it's still a better deal than keeping Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo doesn't want to be at Man United. He's angry at the way Erik ten Hag has treated him. You could tell by the way he came onto the football pitch yesterday that he doesn't want to be here. There's no way he's scoring 24 goals as he did last season for Manchester United. He's not doing that this year. Not for love nor money do I believe that. So you look at this and think, okay, decent swap deal. But it all depends upon the price for me. How much would Osimhen cost? Would that stop an alternative figure coming in from next year? Is he good enough to cut it in the Premier League? There's a real mixed bag of opinion on this striker. However, for the right price, I'd do it if it meant Ronaldo left. The one part of this deal that I'm a little bit concerned about is Man United paying the majority of his wages, but then it feeds into something that Duncan Castles has said in the last 24 hours. And I do think this is something that Man United fans should be looking at with an air of attention. And I want to read out what Duncan Castles said. He said that Man United's support for Erik ten Hag is such that the Glazer family are prepared to both suffer the commercial consequences of granting Ronaldo's transfer and spend heavily on replacements. Now, that story hasn't really picked up a lot of traction. It doesn't really fit with the Glazer out movement. And as you all know, from my standpoint, as much as I'm Glazer out, my compromise to Glazer out is, well, run the club properly then, and I'll support you. Allowing Ronaldo to go, even paying a large part or even half of his salary, as long as they're then spending money on a replacement, that's how the football club should be run. Instead of giving out 24 million pounds in dividends, instead of paying interest and loan payments, sometimes you have to use that money on solving a problem. And it might be an expensive problem to solve. That's only there because of your poor decision making in the past. But this is what Man United have got to get away from. Poor decision making under previous regimes damaging the new manager. In the business world, we call them legacy issues at an organization, and that's what Man United have got. So I hope that Duncan Castles is right about this. I hope that Duncan Castles is spot on, and the owners of Manchester United are going to say, listen, we don't want to lose the commercial revenue. We don't want to hemorrhage huge amount of money on his contract, but we are going to back you, Ten Hag, give you a play, find you a player that wants to be here, pay Ronaldo off to leave, create more harmony in that dressing room so we can all wipe our mouths and move forward. And I really do hope that's true. Now, on Victor Osimhen, look, I'm torn. I've watched him play and him look good. I've watched him play and him look bad. You speak to people online about him, or what do you think? It's literally a 50-50 split as to whether or not he's good enough to lead the line for Man United. So again, like with a few of these deals we've made this summer, the length of contract, the amount of money we're paying him, and the squad status we give him is really, really key to me. Really, really key indeed. But will he do better for us than Ronaldo staying this year? Will he be a better fit, a better figure in the dressing room? Yes. And that isn't attacking Ronaldo. Ronaldo's legacy will never even be looked upon by Osimhen in terms of the overall quality. However, we're not talking about a prime Ronaldo. We're talking about a 37-year-old Ronaldo turning 38 on £360,000 a week who doesn't want to be at Manchester United. It is a very, very, very different kettle of fish altogether in relation to this situation. So I know there's a lot of Ronaldo fanboys out there that kind of, they don't like people speaking badly about him, but this isn't speaking badly about Ronaldo. It's speaking about the future of a football club, which is far more important than a player. Vic is WC works a world class, works hard, eats headers. He's serious, is what Harry Fenwick has got to say here. Harry Fenwick likes Osimhen. I'm tired, Terry. I'm honestly tired of the lack of DM at Chelsea. Chelsea not addressing this will cost him. Tuchel not addressing this will cost him a job. DM needed so badly. It is horrendous. Why is what Adrian has got to say. We'll move on to Chelsea in a bit and go through that. No problem. Let's have a little look at some more of these comments here. De Jong staying at Barca. We'll get onto De Jong a little bit later in the show. Terry, at least your hair seems more structured than Man United now. We looked pretty structured yesterday when defending. I'll give Man United that. We looked a lot better yesterday in terms of our structure on the field of play. I kind of I watched highlights of the game back yesterday, and I was impressed with elements that happened looking back when the nerves were gone. We actually had a decent structure yesterday, but there we go. Not the way the club's run, but that's it. Terry, you believe the British media hype is disgusting, that United fans can turn on Ronaldo, sue to the media agenda attacking his character. This is crazy and should not even be a discussion. Well, listen, this is a lot of these reports are not coming from the British media, though. They're coming from the Italian media. They're coming from the Spanish media. They're coming from the Portuguese media. So what you've got to remember is just because a British paper is reporting on it doesn't necessarily mean that the source and the information is coming from Britain. Read the article, look where the base source is coming from. But to pretend that Ronaldo is happy at Man United, I think is crazy. Absolutely crazy talk. I really do think that's crazy talk. But there we go. Morning all. Let me know, by the way, in the comment section where you're all calling in from. This comment here says Osimhen ain't that good. That's coming from a Liverpool. Do I believe the Liverpool fans on this, though? Or are they just saying that? People told me that Lisandro Martinez wasn't very good. People said that Malacia would be a flop signing. They've started off all right. But we will see. We will see. Osimhen is good, but he doesn't score more than 7 to 9 goals a season. Last season, he scored 18. Last season he scored 14 league goals. Season before that, 10 league goals. Season before that, 13 league goals. Season before that, 12 league goals. So far this season, 2 goals in 2 games. So again, you don't have to rate him as good, but at least get his statistics right. Adam here says it's funny they think Napoli will let him go. Well, that's kind of my thought on this. If you go back to what I said at the top of the video, I don't quite understand why Napoli would let Osimhen go for Ronaldo. If Ronaldo was 30, maybe I'd get it. But at 37, maybe this is Napoli saying, listen, we know we're not winning the league. We know we're not winning the Champions League. Maybe this is a great way of us generating huge amounts of money, selling lots of shirts around the world. Maybe they're looking at this commercially and thinking, if Man United pay 80% of his salary, we get a fee for Osimhen and raise loads of money from Ronaldo being here, we could reinvest that later on down the line. This could really be a commercial decision from Napoli to strengthen their team further on down the line. That's the only logical element going through my mind. I can't think of any other element of this that makes any kind of sense whatsoever. By the way, people, if we hit 700 likes while we're live, I'm going to gift out 20 free memberships to you, the viewers, on the tiers. We've got more membership content dropping in about an hour. So if you want to get access to that, please make sure you are an official Football Terrace member. Let's have a little look here. Another super chat says United got pretty lucky yesterday. Southampton were better. They definitely had a lot of chances towards the end of that game. I don't think anybody could deny that. Equally, though, in the first half, all the chances, all the big chances, barring one, went to Manchester United. So you could argue if Deleu's cross was accurate, there's a headed goal from a few yards out by Bruno. There was the triple blocks. That could have been a goal. So it could have been 2-0 by then. And there was a great cross from Eriksen that Bruno just couldn't quite get his toe to. That could have been 3-0 before Southampton had a proper chance in the game. So you can use that logic. Oh, at the end, United cleared a ball off the line and a good save from De Gea. But if you reverse it, United would have been 3-0 up before we even scored our first goal. So it was a very even game. If you look at it as a game of two halves, I think if it would have been a draw, I don't think anybody would have cried. If United would have won, it's fair. If Southampton would have nicked 2 late goals, you'd have gone fair enough. They had those chances. So chances were created by both. It wasn't a vintage United performance, but I think most Man United fans were happy with the win. I'm in my back garden, Terry. Ron for Osimhen suits us, like Bentancur from AC to partner Casemiro. But Eriksen impressing, Martinez a beast, Malacia again impressive. Yeah, I agree. If Osimhen is going to leave, why not get a replacement for free with the commercial benefits? But I think I think this is the only thing that makes sense, Alex, is that Napoli want the Ronaldo bandwagon, the fanfare, the fact that Ronaldo has more followers on Instagram than most country have citizens, right? He's basically a giant country in terms of his reach. He will then, for the next 18 months, post dozens of pictures of him and his kids and his family in Napoli shirts. He'll promote Napoli this, Napoli that, and it will create, suddenly there'll be, I'm telling you, there'll be fans around the world that go, oh, what Napoli all about? That's what they want. That generates money, interest, clicks, and it's what they can achieve off the back of the income from that. That's the only thing that would make logical sense in this deal to me from a Napoli point of view, because I don't even see him scoring as many goals as Osimhen. I really don't. Antony plus Depay, Martial alternative plus a CM right back are a must. We'll get onto that story a little bit later on today. Why is everyone against United and praying for their downfall? That's why I'm a fan of rugby. That's because Man United, basically, for most people that hate United, for the majority of their lives, with a better team. You know, when I was younger and Man United were on the rise, it was everybody wanted Liverpool to lose because they'd just gone through the 70s and 80s being the most dominant team. And in another 15 years, if Man United don't get back to the top, in another 15, 20 years, it could be City that everybody talks that way about. As you get older, you see these cycles and it makes a lot more sense. One of the other pieces of news I wanted to talk about was the Aubameyang situation today. Now, the Aubameyang news is very intriguing to me, and I need to timestamp this because people moan that we don't always have timestamps in the right places. The Aubameyang news is very, very intriguing to me indeed, because, and I want to make sure I say this in the right way. Man United have inquired about him. The player's preference, though, is to join Chelsea. And I don't think any of us were unaware of this. I don't think any of us are shocked by this. I don't think any of us think, oh, I didn't realize that. But Man United have asked about him. Man United are maintaining an interest in Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And it is kind of connected to the Osimhen situation and Ronaldo situation. Man United know they're going to use Anthony Martial this year as a striker. Whether he's a starter or he's the backup remains to be seen. It depends on who United bring in and how that individual performs. But I felt for a while now that although publicly Man United keep stating we don't want Ronaldo to go, we want Ronaldo to stay, he's part of our group, I don't believe them. I don't believe Man United. I'm going to be very, very blunt, very, very honest. I don't believe Man United. I think Man United will sell him if they can bring in a replacement. They won't let Ronaldo go with no replacement. I don't think that will happen. So they're looking at the Aubameyang deal. Now, Aubameyang wants Champions League football. Aubameyang does not want, at this moment in time, to leave Barcelona for Man United as a priority. He prefers Chelsea. He wants to be a Chelsea football player. I don't think anybody should, could, or will deny that. That is what he wants. But football isn't always as clear cut as that. And it appears to me what Man United are doing is saying, listen, if it doesn't work out with Chelsea, we're here. Now, he's agreed on the personal terms. We were told by Gerard Romero on, I want to say it was Friday, that the player was at the airport. The player was on his way to complete his move to Chelsea Football Club. Subsequently, that hasn't happened, as we all know. The Fofana deal is done. It's going to complete over the course of today and tomorrow. But Aubameyang is still trundling on. Now, let me reiterate by saying this before someone clips it up, that Aubameyang to Chelsea is still the most likely destination. Chelsea is still leading the race to sign him. But Man United have thrown their hat into the mix. And what I was told earlier on today was this, that Man United will try and disrupt Chelsea's move for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Man United have maintained an interest for the striker for a while, who is currently rated around £20 million. Chelsea have agreed personal terms as negotiations over his fee continue. I think what's really, really important to kind of remember about that is it's the fee. This is where Man United are looking at this situation and thinking, could we have a chance? And it's all about the fee. Man United look at this and think, well, if Chelsea and Barca in the next few days can't come to an agreement over the fee, if Chelsea and Barca can't come to an agreement over the fee, if Chelsea and Barcelona are still at loggerheads over this, there could come a point where Barca get a bit desperate and say, well, okay, Man United, what, are you willing to pay the £20 million? There could be a situation where Aubameyang himself says, well, I want to move. I want to go and play regular first team football somewhere. Barca clearly want me to move on. I'd like Chelsea, but they're not making the offer to make this happen now. They're not paying the money that Barcelona want and need. So there's an outside chance for Manchester United in this deal. And it's an interesting one for me because I praise Chelsea's move for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I think he's going to do a wonderful job there on a short-term basis. So I'm going to maintain that same logic for Manchester United. If we were able to pull this off as if we sent Ronaldo out to Napoli, but we bought Aubameyang in on a 2-year deal, 150 grand a week, to be a makeshift striker for a year or two, I'd be happy with it. In the same way I've been praising Chelsea. So I'm not going to, that's just one of the reasons why I don't cap and lie about not being, but if I thought Aubameyang was a bad move for Chelsea, I'd say it'd be a bad move for Man United. I haven't. I don't like people that say, oh, terrible move for Chelsea. Then suddenly they're linked to your club and it's like you try and do all this mental gymnastics to make it look good. I think Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang would be a good quality signing for Man United. However, though, I still think he's going to end up at Chelsea. And I don't think the news is fake. And that's where I think people need to be very, very careful. The news isn't fake. I truly believe that Manchester United are looking at him. I believe the news is absolutely accurate. They're looking, they're trying to hijack, but the player prefers Chelsea. But if Chelsea and Barcelona cannot come to a full agreement on price, that could change things. Because as we know, if the club don't agree a price, the player essentially isn't going to make the move. Then Man United could sweep in. And I think that's what they're kind of waiting for. But with only sort of 4 or 5 days remaining in this transfer window, these deals are going to come to a head very, very soon indeed. But I want to know Man United fans' opinion. If you were to land Aubameyang, would you be happy? Yes, it wouldn't be the permanent long-term solution. But for £20 million for a couple of years, he's a proven goal scorer. Would you be happy with that move? And Chelsea fans, what I want to know from you, there's a famous scene from the sitcom Friends. And in the sitcom Friends, one of the episodes in the latter seasons was Jennifer Aniston thought her character Rachel thought she was pregnant. And she was saying, I don't know if I want the baby. I don't know if I want the baby. And then when they did the pregnancy test, Phoebe reads out the answer and tells her she's not pregnant. Then you see Rachel be really disappointed. They say, oh, what's wrong? She went, oh, I didn't know if I wanted it. But now you said I'm not pregnant. I know I want the baby. And Phoebe said, well, that's good because actually you are pregnant. She lied. The reason I give that as a bit of an analogy is, how do Chelsea fans feel today at the idea of Man United potentially hijacking the deal? With Fabrizio Romano saying that he prefers Chelsea, he's more likely to turn Chelsea. How do you feel about that? That's when you really know your true feelings towards a signing. There's what you tweet publicly and then how you actually feel. Is there a sense of relief when you hear the news that he still prefers Chelsea? He wants that Champions League football. Personal terms are agreed. It's a very slim chance Man United take him. Or is it the other way? Are you thinking, oh, I wish Man United did take him off our hands. I don't want him at my football club. I want to get the Chelsea fans' perspective on this deal and sort of how they think and feel about it. I really, really do. Terry Mudded. I have no idea what that's if reference to, my friend. Explain what you mean by me being mudded there. But there we go. Let me know what you I don't understand. It's a weird dig. It's a weird dig. Let's have a look at some more of your comments here. Are we actually going to speak about the transfers in the comment section? Why Aubameyang take a pay cut to play for United? Who said he's going to take a pay cut? No one said that. Aubameyang is clear of Osimhen, is what Ike has got to say here. Asensio will be a Chelsea player. Are they linked to him as well today? That's an interesting one. I didn't know they were linked to him as well. But there we go. Allah says, congratulations over United's first back-to-back league win since February. Do you know, it's only the third time in 12 months that United have won back-to-back league games. I think we might have won 3 near the beginning of the season. And then we did 2 in Feb, and then we did 2 now. Like, it shows how shocking. People keep saying to me as well, why don't you fancy yourself the top 4? That's why. That is why. Let's have a little look here. Come on, Chelsea fans, answer my question. Answer the question, please. G's fighting over Arsenal rejects, how the tables have turned, is what Arteta's light bulb has got to say. Not the end of the world is what Jeff thinks. Okay, so you wouldn't be that gutted if he went to Man United. Terry, do you think it is wiser to get a pre-contract agreement with Ajax and Antony to buy him in January? Potentially. Look, I'm going to do some content on that later. I've got a lot to say on that matter. I really do. I think the way Ajax have behaved is actually disgusting. I really, really do. I think it's quite vile when you listen to what Antony's had to say. I think it's the fact that people keep saying, oh, that it shouldn't have been left so late. They've been trying to get this done since February. And they've really, really screwed him over here. So I hope he continues to strike. Odds here says, we don't like to help Barca, but Aubameyang is a baller, is what this Chelsea fan has got to say. Listen, I truly believe that if he ends up at Man United or if he ends up at Chelsea, he will do serious business. He will perform. He will score. He will help elevate both of our teams, in my opinion. I truly believe that. No cap, no nothing. I think it's genuine. Now, I wanted to talk about the Wesley Fofana situation as well. Wesley Fofana's medical is going to happen today, I believe. L'Equipe, who are a very credible French outlet that I take seriously, have stated that Chelsea will pay an estimated £70 million for Wesley Fofana, below the record fee that was reported by Fabrice Hawkins and other journalists on Friday and yesterday. Now, Fabrice Hawkins, by the way, is one of the most credible guys out there. He got Koulibaly to Chelsea and Fofana to Chelsea. Not only the original story, but the done deal before everybody else. You should be following him. But L'Equipe have pulled on a very interesting element of this deal when it comes to the medical of Wesley Fofana. And for me, what I find intriguing about this is and we spoke about structures of deals on the terrace so many times. It's kind of good to see the mainstream media really talking about it. And the reason that I say that is this. So what they've stated is it's only going to be £70 million they pay for the player, but that will be paid in full within a year. So it's still going to be in installments, but it'll be a lump sum now, maybe some halfway through the season and some towards the end of the season. Remember, Premier League clubs don't get all their TV money in one lump sum. It's spread over the course of a year. However, Chelsea have managed to this is one report, and you will get different reports from different outlets saying different things, that the price for Fofana is lower here because they're paying it in full within 1 year. Typically speaking, that's how for years, people wondered how Man City were able to buy so many players for that 50, 60 million pound mark and not go higher. Well, it's because they weren't paying in installments. They were paying cash money up front. So the club physically had, although you can show it on your books, when you get paid in installments, your books will show the sale straight away. The physical cash is not in your business. And like with any business in the world, no matter how big or small, cash is king. You need that cash flow. Businesses want it for multiple reasons. So the fact that Chelsea have been prepared to pay 70 million pounds cash, it looks like they may have been able to shave anywhere between 5 to 10 million pounds off of the price of the player. And that's an intriguing piece of business. It's a very good piece of business. However, it eats into those budgets up front. Now, what I want to say about Chelsea is this: they are angling to spend somewhere in the region of 300 million pounds, maybe even more this summer. And I know I want to go back to this super chat from earlier that basically said that you're tired because you're not buying a DM. I understand, Adrian, that you want a DM, but I think you are thinking about this from the point of view of, I want the DM so we could challenge for the league title this year. I think you're waiting for the right DM. I think you're waiting for the right player that Tuchel wants. I think Todd B, the new consortium, the new ownership, and Thomas Tuchel collectively are looking at this as a quote unquote sort of miniature rebuild. It's a new ownership. It's a new football club, essentially. It's a brand new world for Chelsea since Roman left. And the ownership want to keep Thomas Tuchel in place. But you've got to remember that Tuchel hasn't really been given players he wanted in the 18 months he's been there. He's been there 18 months, been to 2 FA Cup finals, a League Cup final, and won the Champions League. Although he hasn't been able to really build his own team. I think you guys will buy a DM, but it will be January or more likely next summer. But don't ignore the types of business you're doing. Some very talented young players coming through at Chelsea. Some very expensive, like Fofana. Maybe Antony Gordon, who scored a very good goal yesterday, by the way. Some of the other youngsters whose names now elude me, but that you spent that sort of 10 to 15 million pounds on. And then, of course, Raheem the Dream Sterling, Koulibaly, Cucurella, who looked great yesterday, by the way, in a Chelsea kit. You are buying young players for the future, investing in some potential superstars, and buying some ready-made world-class football players. I know you haven't got the DM, and I know the mindset is, but we won't win the league this year without one. But Chelsea aren't just buying to win the league this year. They're building something for the here and now to a degree, but more so for the future. So I do think that you have to remain. I do think you have to remain a little bit more patient with your ownership and how they're going about things, my friend. Chelsea fans spend 300 million in one transfer window and say they need more players, but got teams like Leeds that only worth a quarter of what Chelsea's squad is worth, still beat them 3-0. Embarrassing. Well, this is what Chelsea are building for, though, isn't it? And I think there's a changing of the guard. I think there's a changing of direction. I think there is a new way of doing things at Chelsea Football Club. And it's going to take time. It was never all going to be instilled in one summer. Now, I get Adrian's point. That he wants the DM now. But what if the DM you want isn't available, just is unattainable this summer? It's too much money this summer, and it would have meant that, remember, you've got 2 or 3 defenders leaving. You had to replace him. If you'd have brought in Declan Rice, who is one of your number one targets, or another top-class DM who is absolutely brilliant. And by the way, a lot of people were speaking about Sangare. I watched him play against Rangers the other day. I wouldn't be too sure that he's ready for the Premier League, personally. However, if you'd have bought Declan Rice, you may not have been able to have strengthened at the back in the way that you have. And then no matter having Declan Rice, if you play this season with Sarr and I can't remember his name. I want to say Shabala. That's not his name. Why can't I pronounce his name? Trevor Chalobah. You guys, it would have been the same difference. So I think it was important to strengthen that back line. You had to improve the attack because Werner and Lukaku. This is what you remember. You lost 3 defenders, and Lukaku and Werner had to go for multiple reasons. So you probably ended up having these holes in your team that Tuchel wasn't expecting this summer. If Rudiger would have signed a new deal, as an example, okay, if Lukaku would have been brilliant last season and Timo Werner had found his feet at the club, you'd have gone for a DM this year. But Thomas Tuchel and Chelsea were suddenly tasked with 3 or 4 holes in their squad that maybe in their original planning they didn't expect to have. So that's what I would say, my friend. A Chelsea fan, I'd rather Osimhen to Aubameyang any day, is what Richard Cox has got to say here. Fair play on that. But at least you've given, do you know what I like about that? You've given a real opinion there, my friend, and you haven't sat on the fence. United back 4 looks solid and De Gea looks confident. I agree. I'd rather wait for Rice than buy a rush flop like Saul, is what Richard Cox has got to say. Terry said building, signing a 34-year-old. Yes, building. And if you know anything about building a structure of a home, there are times when you're building a property, or you're doing maintenance on a property, where you will put in temporary supports, temporary lintels. You'll put up support beams that don't stay there permanently, but you need them to be put up while you build something else, and then you remove them and you finish the construction. Buying makeshift players, by investing in someone that's slightly older for a 2 or 3 year period during your rebuild, is normal in the construction of anything, whether it be a literal building, whether it be a business, whether it be a department, whether it be a sports team. If you look at the fact that, and I'm going to assume, Jim Fox, that you are a Arsenal fan. Arsenal fans right now keep assessing Man United and Chelsea's rebuilds, if you want to call them that. And I kind of wasn't looking at Chelsea as a rebuild earlier on in the summer, and I've kind of changed my mind a little bit on that. But the point I'm making to like a lot of people is, when it comes to this situation with Chelsea, like with Arsenal, they're judging everything Chelsea and Man United are doing now based on what they're doing at this moment in time. But you're not looking at how Arsenal started their rebuild. Look at some of the signings they made when they first started trying to rebuild, the age profiles of some of these individuals. And it's also interesting that the players that that Arsenal are now looking at and adding are a much older vintage, mid-20s. Some of the players have been linked with this summer have been even older than that. Why? Because you need to add that experience into these younger players. So that's not a dig. Arsenal's rebuild is fantastic, but it's at a very different stage to Man United and Chelsea's, in my opinion. And makeshift players are sometimes needed, because if your number one targets aren't available for a year, but you've got a hole in your squad, you have to have someone in that position. You really, really do. Koulibaly is 34. Is Koulibaly really 34? Is Koulibaly really 30? Is he that age already? I thought he was a little bit younger than 34. Maybe you're right. He's 31. So yeah, that's completely off. He's 31 years of age, and it is what it is. But they needed that. But you've got to remember, they needed that experience in their team, because they lost experience. And if they'd have just gone out and bought a 21-year-old that he's developing, it would have taken them longer. I think I think they're getting the balance right, and you need to get that balance right, in my humble opinion. But yes, Wesley Fofana, his medical will be, he started yesterday. It will go through until today, and it's very likely that he'll be announced as a Chelsea player. A record fee for them for a defender. Some reports are going to say it's a world record fee overall. Some are going to say that it isn't. And I was talking to Alex Goldberg yesterday, and I said, look, it doesn't really matter, actually. In actuality, it doesn't really matter how much he costs. Chelsea have invested a huge amount of money in a top player, and I feel like their fans should just be like over the moon happy with it, if that makes sense. Some will be, some won't be. But yeah, I feel like it's a really, really good piece of business for Chelsea Football Club. I really do. How many likes are we sitting on that right now, my people? We're not even on 400 likes yet. Let's get to 700. We're going to give away some more memberships to you. So I want you to smash that like and that share button for us on the show this morning. Get your super chats in as well. We've got transfer news aplenty today. Match reaction for the Spurs Forest game later today as well. It's going to be an interesting one after Arsenal going 4-4. Rice won't go for 150 million next year. Exactly. You're probably going to pick him up. I reckon you'll get Rice for about 70 million pounds next year, especially if West Ham don't have a great, especially if West Ham don't have a great season, especially if they don't have a great season. That for me will be very intriguing indeed. Now, I also want to speak about De Jong this morning. I want to talk about De Jong. I want to talk about it in relation to the Liverpool connections. Now, what's really intriguing is that Frenkie de Jong is an option for. They say Frenkie de Jong is an option for Liverpool before deadline day. What I find crazy about this deal isn't that thought process and isn't that link. It's the fact that why in God's great name, great name, and I need to write this out. I didn't type it before I went live, so I'm very sorry, people. What I was told this morning is Liverpool are looking at him, but Chelsea is still more likely if he is to leave Barcelona before or on deadline day. And what I find very intriguing about this is Liverpool leaving it this late. No one really quite knows yet exactly what Liverpool are going to do. Jurgen Klopp has come out. What I love about Jurgen Klopp coming out and admitting that he got this wrong is kind of how it makes is kind of how it makes a lot of the kind of how it makes some of the Liverpool fans look. And this isn't a dig. And me and Grizz Khan got into it on socials yesterday, not in a horrible way, but Liverpool. There's a lot of Liverpool fans who gave a lot of abuse to other Liverpool supporters for challenging the fact they needed new midfielders. And Liverpool leaving it this late could end up with egg on their face still. Frenkie de Jong is a player they should have been trying to sign all summer. Frenkie de Jong is a player that they should have been chasing all summer. They've missed out on Mateus Nunes. They have missed out on Lucas Paqueta, most likely. His medical's going on this weekend in London. He's 99% sure to be joining West Ham United. There's Ruben Neves that's linked with the move to Liverpool Football Club, but they've left it so late, they may not be able to land like a top-class target, a top-class player that they need. I did hear reports and read reports yesterday that they've got a pre-agreement with Jude Bellingham, but that's irrelevant to me. One, that isn't going to help him this season. And secondly, great, get Jude Bellingham, but sign somebody else as well. Like it doesn't make sense to just go, oh, we're going to get Jude Bellingham if we don't need any other midfield players. Yes, you do. The types of squads that Arsenal and Spurs are building, Chelsea are building, the squads that Man City have got, you have to look beyond the end of your nose. And I think Liverpool fans have perpetuated this situation, thrown fuel on the fire in many ways by blindly, absolutely blindly backing what their manager and their club have been saying over the course of the summer. And this is where sometimes, I understand love is blind, but sometimes you've got to engage your brain, stop towing the party line, and speak your mind. And Liverpool fans haven't been doing this because suddenly, since Klopp has said we need a midfielder, all the Liverpool fans going, we don't need another midfielder. We shouldn't be doing this. The squad can do that. The squad can do this. Suddenly, they're talking about all the targets they want, who they'd like to bring in. Oh, we've got this hole and that hole. Where was this talk of your holes and problems in your squad before Jurgen Klopp said something? That's the weirdest thing for me. I understand your love for Jurgen Klopp, but you don't need Jurgen Klopp to say something for you to have an opinion. That's weird to me. So Liverpool fans haven't helped and supported their club properly this summer. Now they're looking at a midfielder and it could be a little bit too late. But they should be going all out for Frenkie de Jong. They should be. There is no reason why they can't. They should be going all out for a Frenkie de Jong. They should be looking at the best midfielders available in the world and saying, let's go and get them now. Because if they land a Ruben Neves, barring Fabinho and Thiago does have injury concerns, he's better than all of them. Better than all of them. Better than their youngsters, better than Henderson, better than Milner now in 2022. He is. De Jong is better than every single midfielder at Liverpool Football Club. Thiago in his pomp, probably not. But he's not in his pomp anymore. He's past his best. He's in the latter years of his career. Go and get him. Break the bank. And then go and break the bank for Jude Bellingham in January or next summer if you have to. Then suddenly you've got a midfield with Fabinho as your base, with De Jong and Jude Bellingham around him. That would on paper be one of the best midfields in Europe, in the world. Arguably Liverpool's best midfield in the Premier League era on paper. So go and do it, Liverpool Football Club. Spend this new sponsorship deal money that you raved about and told everybody was going to be a game changer. Go and be the biggest club in England. Behave like the biggest club in England. Otherwise, I'm sorry to say this, Arsenal and Tottenham and Chelsea will overtake you because they're all being run very well at the moment, investing very well at the moment. The one thing that Liverpool have got they don't is Jurgen Klopp. But Jurgen Klopp isn't going to be here forever. And this is why Liverpool fans need to demand the club is run impeccably well to maintain those levels, because you're getting an extra 15 points a year because you've got the best or second best manager in the world. Everybody has a different view on that. Liverpool fans have got to demand this. Will they get Frenkie de Jong? I don't know. But I think they're going to rue the missed opportunity with Frenkie de Jong because United got a deal done with Barca, but the player wanted to stay at Barcelona. A lot of that was money orientated, but it wanted to stay. Liverpool have got the prowess and the history and the money and the manager and the team and the current status in the game to have turned his head. Liverpool have missed such an opportunity here. It's crazy. It really, really is crazy for me. And Liverpool do have money. This nonsense that Liverpool don't have money is crazy. Liverpool are rich as fuck. They got loads of money. Fabinho is finished at the top level. Do people really think Fabinho is finished? Listen, I like a little bit of Liverpool slander and a bit of Liverpool banter, but I don't necessarily think he's finished personally. I think the problem that you're seeing right now with Fabinho is he's surrounded by old, past it ballers, and it's making him look bad. this is what I've said before. Like, if you took peak Mo Salah and put him into this Man United team over the last 18 months, he wouldn't be the Mo Salah you think he is. He really wouldn't be. Like, the team you're in, the players you're surrounded by is so important as well. It really is so important, you know? They are linked to a Sanderberg underrated. I think if they go and sign someone like Sanderberg, there'll be little to no improvement. There'll be a slightly deeper squad for Liverpool, but there'll be little to no first team improvement. In my view, personally, I don't think that he is of that level. He's kind of. Do you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of. There's two player names I want to remember here. There's Kevin Strootman. I know he had a major injury, but everybody spoke about how Kevin Strootman was going to be this world-class midfielder. And there's another guy who broke his leg. Fergie wrote letter after leg break. I don't remember the name of the player now, but I'll get it when I see it. Stephen Defoe. Stephen Defoe. I honestly remember when. I remember when the likes of Stephen Defoe, Strootman, they remind me of Sanderberg in the way of hyped up, but never really were good enough before and after the injuries that they sustained. And I kind of feel like he's going to be the same, in my opinion. And that's the thing with being a little bit older. I don't always get as drawn into the hype around certain players because I've seen it all before, if that makes sense. The other guy, William Carvalho. You kids don't remember the hype every summer. Everyone was going to buy William Carvalho. Nobody ever did. And there's a reason for it. There we go. I don't know why Terry never talks about Rash Bandicoot. He has been stinking the gaff for years. Well, that's not true, because if you watch a video from a few days ago, I spoke about how if he doesn't agree to play hard before getting and improve before we offer him a new deal, we should be selling him, because that isn't United standard. Majority of last season, I was talking about how his levels shouldn't garnish him with a starting position in the Man United team. And I spoke vigorously this summer about signing the likes of Gakpo and Antony and placing Rashford on the bench until he can prove himself to be good enough again, and or selling him. So, my friend, you obviously don't watch enough of my streams. I do have a very serious issue here with people being xenophobic. So can you leave the xenophobia out of your comments, please, my friend? We don't tolerate it on the terrace. Relax, people. If you watch TFT, you would think Liverpool are washed. This exact team was the closest ever to a quad, and a few months later, they are finished. See, again, this is the thing, Lewis. I've never said that Liverpool Football Club are finished. You are the one being hyperbolic. You are the one exaggerating. But that's what happens with cognitive dissonance. It stops your brain from thinking correctly. I don't think Liverpool are finished. I still think you're making top four. I'm suggesting that if you don't get that midfield player, after seeing the way you've started the season, I don't think you challenge for the title. And Liverpool not challenging for the title makes it a bad season. I'm talking by Liverpool standards. I'm not judging you based on Arsenal's current standards, United's current standards, Brighton's current standards. This is where Liverpool are. And depending on where you are in life, your standards are different. This is normal. You treat everybody with the same level of respect, but the expectations you have of individuals are very, very different, right? Very, very different. You know, we've all been to school. The bright kid who's intelligent, who comes from a good home, is in a good position, he's always has a higher expectation on them than maybe someone that's come from a broken home, who's had a parent that's recently died. There isn't much money and they've gone through real troubled times. There's a different expectation, even though they're treated equally. And this is my point. Liverpool have a different expectation against them compared to Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United, Bournemouth, Brighton. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about it in the context of how good you are and what constitutes a successful season for Liverpool. And if you don't challenge for that title, that's an unsuccessful Premier League season. That's what we're saying, my friend. No one's saying, listen, forget, some people will banter and go, you're washed and you're finished and you're never gonna win a league title again. Look, I'm not saying that though. Some rivals may say it, but that's just banter. You've got to learn to take that. Obviously, a good win yesterday for yourselves. Very, very good win yesterday for yourselves. But there we go. Arsenal need a number 6 to cover for Partey and another forward, is what the Arsenal blueprint's got to say here. I understand that. Yuri Tillemans to Chelsea. What do you think about that? I like Yuri Tillemans. I think he's good. I think this summer, because teams have been linked with him, and then the deals haven't gone through. I think there's kind of been people then backtrack about how good they think he is, and they start kind of spreading a bit of BS to like cover up the fact their club may not have signed him or he's rejected their club, whatever it may be. I think he's a very talented player. I think like Ruben Neves at Wolves. I think they just need to get to football clubs where they're surrounded by better quality players with a better manager, and you'll see the levels come out in them. You know, Yuri Tillemans in a Belgium shirt is, every time I've seen him, has looked very, very good indeed. Very, very good. Arjan here says Frenkie will stay. Probably will, to be fair. Probably will. Terry, Aubameyang, Osimhen, delay, which is best? Delay? Oh, you mean Depay? I think you mean Depay. I prefer Aubameyang in the short term. Memphis, do you know what though? Memphis coming in with Antony. Look, I didn't want Memphis back at Man United, but at £10 million, I kind of want the gamble. I do. Frenkie to accept a 35 million wage cut. Well, this is the thing though. If he accepts the wage cut, I've got a problem with Frenkie de Jong. Just like he said all summer, we are not doing it, and then he does it in the end. And I think that's because none of the other football. Listen, I know he wanted to stay at Barcelona over leaving, but the fact that I think if Chelsea or Man United really did offer him the deferred wages, he'd have gone. Nobody offered it to him, so he's just going to stay on a pay cut. He ended up with, and what's crazy is that I know he's going to play football matches, but they're obviously building a team to not even for him to not even be the main starter. If Gavi and Pedri reach their levels and Kesse is a good signing, the guy might not even play. I think you'll see Frenkie de Jong leave Barca in the next 18 months anyway. But we'll see. He's very, very good, but we'll see what happens. Terry working for Rashi's PR team. Yeah, his PR team wouldn't say that he needs to be sold if he asked for a new deal this early, but there we go. Terry is seriously true on being a proper analysis and does some really neutral takes, and is vocal about players. Of course I am, but there we go. Terry, his fiance loves the city. Wife tax is high. This is true. But I think in the cold, hard light of day, money has played a big part in this. I really, really do. But look, Man United have ended up with Casemiro. I'm happy with that. I would have loved Frenkie de Jong. I'm not going to change my tune about the player. I think he's sensational. I don't really understand why Barca have bought the players they have when they already have him. He should be playing in that holding role. But we'll see what happens. I think he's better than Kesse, so I don't see why he won't out Kesse. Really, he's a better footballer than Kesse, so we'll see what happens. We should have signed Alexander Isak. I don't know if Isak is that good, if I'm being honest with you. I'm being really honest. I don't know if Isak is as good as some people pretend he is. I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced on him, if I'm being honest. Arsenal will get Frenkie de Jong next season. Maybe. Maybe. Terry, give some Arsenal transfer news. Do you think we'll sign anybody? I don't know if you will. So I've got itchy head. You have to sign someone, though, especially on that wing. I was thinking midfield was more important, but I actually think cover and competition for Saka is probably the most important area. Saka looks tired and in pain at the moment, you know, and I think he needs some real support. Some real support. I really, really do. I really, really do. I really, really do. Best week of the transfer window is upon us, and football too. We've got a great week ahead. You're absolutely right there, my friend. It's going to be a fantastic week. I'm very much looking forward to it. I am. I think your Tillemans has been too professional, but I think I like his standards. Has been in a decline in the football club and needs a new club. Yeah, sometimes the old adage of a change is as good as a rest, I think, reigns very, very true. Terry, remember Itest said Isak over Haaland. It's true, but we all make bad takes. I remember like 4 years ago, I made a big take about how good Dele Alli was and what he could go on to achieve, and then players fall away. The problem is when you're a fan, you give an opinion. You don't have any control over what that player does. So at the time you're watching someone, like again, equally, I said like what Haaland's doing now, I've predicted for 3 years. This is the level he'll get to and beyond. But if Haaland stopped working hard in training and believed his own hype and fell away, it wouldn't be my fault. I didn't know that. You know, eye test wise, I can understand why people think that Isak is better. But when it comes to being a striker, when you have to when you look beyond the eye test, you have to then look at what the deliverables at the backside of that are. So in rivals' opinions, we have a wash midfield. Then in that theory, we shouldn't be expected to challenge. With people saying we have such a bad midfield. But that's exactly what people are saying. People are saying they don't think if you don't sign another midfielder, they don't think you'll challenge. But if Liverpool don't challenge, but the standards of your football club and where you've been recently, that's a poor season. You are now, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what they're saying. I prefer Vlahovic over Haaland, not gonna lie, is what H7 believes here. That's a fair point. I mean, again, you're allowed the thing is though, you're allowed preferences in the game. I've never really understood why people get annoyed at others who have a different like preference to them. Like it's never made sense to me how people get so annoyed and angry over preferences. I find it very, very strange. I'm a Chelsea fan, but must respect Arsenal. You have to give respect where it is due. They are so hot, even the Devils are scared to play them. Listen, we play Arsenal next week, and I am very, very fearful of that game. I don't want to play them. I don't want to be up against them. I really don't. What day even is it next week? It can't be it must be the Sunday we play them. No, and I think it might be the Monday actually. No, it's the Sunday we play them. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that game. That game could be very painful, very scary, very dangerous for Manchester United. It truly, truly could. So, yeah, I'm very fearful. And it's funny. I saw Rory Jennings' video yesterday, and he was like, "We've got to take Arsenal seriously." Everybody laughed at me a month ago when I did my "I'm scared of Arsenal" video, and I don't get everything right. I really don't. No one gets all their predictions right. But I knew this. This one felt to me like an absolute shoo-in, an absolute guarantee, an absolute certainty, that Arsenal were going to have a good season. You could feel it. You could feel it. The Arsenal blueprint says Osimhen is the next big thing. Drogba says. Well, this is the one thing. If you don't sign I mean, again, this is where you might find yourself gutted. Say Man United say no to the Osimhen situation, and then he goes on to next levels. Then you're gutted. Absolutely. I think we need Partey more forward. Is what's being said here. Partey's a holding midfielder, man. You don't need him more forward. You don't. Isak is not consistent, but he has the minerals. He's been expensive though for the risk. Yeah, I get that. Terry, I think the Arsenal versus Man United game is already looking like a great game. How are you feeling? Let me wait and see how we play against Leicester first, and then I'll give you my honest thoughts. If I see 3 solid defensive performances in a row, an improvement again in how we're attacking, and it depends who we sign this week. Because whoever we sign this week, and I think we will make a signing or two, they will all be registered by Thursday, meaning they can play by Sunday. If you suddenly have Antony and another quality player available, Casemiro in the team, maybe a player or two gone that don't want to be there, that's still causing a few problems in the dressing room, it could be different. But as it stands right now, I see nothing but an Arsenal win. I'm not saying a battering because I can't remember the last time Arsenal battered Man United at Old Trafford. Whether we've been good, they've been good, bad, or indifferent. But right now, Arsenal are going to win that. And I think Arsenal could end up being 6 from 6 at the beginning of the season. And then everybody's going to start to sing my tune. I think Arsenal can challenge. I think Arsenal can challenge. But what will happen, and this is the only thing I'm sad about, and I know my Terrace community won't do this to me, when everybody else starts saying they're title contenders, I'll get no homage of being the first to call it or like the first to see it or recognize it. It'll just be, big up this big content creator that's now saying the same thing. It's always a little sad when I see it. That's why I always pay homage to the smaller journalists and content creators that say things first, because I don't like when you get like a very low level, fairly unknown content creator comes up with a really good turn of phrase, and they'll turn around and say something like, I don't know, the fridge to the bridge. And then all the big content creators start using it and no one pays homage to the little guy. It really irks me massively. It really, really does. I want to say a big thank you here this morning, by the way, to my guy, Vincent. Thank you, Vincent. Vincent has just become an official member of the Football Terrace. He's become a squad member. So thank you, my friend, for doing that. Why aren't Leicester sacking Rodgers? 2-0 to 10 men. It's 2-1, but yeah, listen, I don't know why he's not been sacked yet. I think the club's up for sale. I've read the club's up for sale, so maybe it's a case of, well, we'll just keep him here until the club sells. Maybe that is what it is. Latimus here says, I rate Victor Osimhen. He's a brilliant young striker with a great potential. However, I don't think currently he's ready to step up to a club like United. He's still developing. Fair point there. I will give you that credit, mate. Yeah, I know you lot will. You're the Terrace community. You guys will always give the credit where credit is due. Thoughts on Paqueta signing for West Ham? Greg, it's a great signing for West Ham. What's interesting about West Ham summer is you've signed some really good players and you spent some money. You just need David. I do have a theory about David Moyes. Maybe David Moyes works better with less quality players. I mean, you've signed Skamaka. You've signed Maxwell Cornet. I actually think Emerson's quite a good signing as well. You're now going to have, you signed some decent players there, 31 million pound on, can't pronounce his name. Name of that centre back. You know what I mean, right? I mean, I've read up about him. He sounds pretty good. I haven't watched him play, so I can't state on him. But Skamaka's good. Like, you bought some really good players. Like, this signing is going to take your spending to nearly 200 million pounds this summer. I'm expecting West Ham to really start performing. Really start performing. I did want to say something as well, which I think is really funny. You've just sold Issa Diop. Remember when you signed him? It was the summer that Man United didn't make any new centre-back signings, and Jose was moaning. And everyone was saying how good Diop is. And that's what I say about overhyping people, not West Ham fans overhyping him. I remember Premier League top 6 clubs were like, in a year, he'll be ready for us. Just signed for Fulham for £16 million. Is another one. Just makes me laugh. I don't even know why. It's just funny. David here, one of our members, and of course, panelists and stalwarts of the terrace, says, Arsenal still haven't impressed me that much. Now, that's an interesting take. And if you were on camera now, David, you'd be getting stick for that, my friend. They'd be coming in for you. They'd be coming in for you. Oh, he's already got injured. Okay, I didn't read about that, my friend. Yeah, I'm not really like up to date with everything going on with West Ham, if I'm being honest. I probably should be, but I'm not. I'm very sorry. No worries, but once again, Liverpool getting looked over at the start of the season. We will be top. We will be top of the league, if not very close to. Also, it's Louis as opposed to Lewis. Okay, sorry, Louis. I get really confused with Louis and Lewis and the way these spellings are. Because I swear I've seen people with your spelling called Louis as well. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thick. But no worries, Lewis. No worries, my friend. No, so it is Louis. It is Louis as opposed to Lewis. Sorry. Louis. Cool. Sorry, I even read that wrong. I'm really dumb. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Super chat here says, with Paqueta and Bruno leaving Lyon, are you surprised Awar no one is in after him after the hype he had in the past few years? I'm not. See, look at this. I'm called Lewis. Sounds like Louis. That's why I'm confused. Are they spelt the same? Are they spelt the same? But can you be Louis with an S and Lewis with an S? Yeah, just tell me yes or no. Maybe that's why I get confused. Can you be both? Thoughts on the celebration police backing up and running? And David, I'm not impressed by Arsenal. I seem to remember 3-0 defeat to Leeds. Look, I already called out the celebration police. So from my point of view, I think it's wrong to have a go at people for celebrating. There's celebrating, and then there's the predictions off the back of it. If Arsenal was celebrating like that, and then they all come out and go, "We're going invincible," it's a bit much. But you should be allowed to celebrate, especially match-going fans. And I'm not saying match-going fans are more important, but hear me out. Do you know how much money they pay to watch those games? So if you're paying on average, including travel, food, and drink, £200 a game, £200 a game to watch, and you win, why can't you celebrate? You can celebrate anywhere. You don't have to have gone to the game, but especially being at the game, let them. And the players are happy. The feel-good factor's there. Like, I didn't like what Richard Keys and Andy Gray said yesterday. Like, it was embarrassing, but they're only doing it to trigger people, I suppose. I think that's what they're doing. It can be spelled both ways. It is the French way of spelling it, brother. So I'm not actually reading it wrong as a dyslexic. You've just got to ask people, is it Lewis or Louis? I'm just going to call you all Lou. Can't go wrong then. As I call, because you obviously know I work with Louis at Give Me Sport. So I just call him Lulu. It's a lot easier. I never get it wrong then. I've got this habit in life as well, by the way. Like I call a lot of people mate when I don't remember their name. So if you meet me regularly and I just call you mate, it's because I don't remember your name. And once you've known someone too long, you can't ask them their name. You've got to keep calling them mate. And I'm terrible for remembering names. So I call a lot of people mate. Hello, mate. How you doing, mate? I'm calling you mate because I don't remember your name. I don't remember it, bruv. I'm terrible. It's pretty funny seeing people say when we will fade away by Christmas when the World Cup starts in November. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Arsenal are serious this year, and I've said it for a while. Not going to change my mind on that just yet. But the proof will be in the pudding. Listen, everybody that's tuned in this morning, thank you. We're back later today with more content for you. Make sure you smash that like button before you leave. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.